Hey, what's the matter, Mr. Dragonknight?
I might not be meta anymore. I've had it so easy for so long, but now other classes are getting buffed. What am I gonna do?
Aw, poor little fella. How can we cheer you up? How about a new set which benefits you most? And we'll make it a proc set, so you don't have to do any work at all. Who's a good boy? Hi, this is Khan from Ninja Pulls. Everyone wants to know about the new Runecarver's Blaze set. How hard did it get nerfed? Is it still any good? What sort of DPS can you get with it? Is it worth farming? Will it help Magicka Dragonknight hang on to the PvE damage crown? It's too early to answer that last one. MagDK's dominance was never about dummy DPS, so that's not a great indicator. As for Runecarver, Zos yanked it back pretty hard. It doesn't look like it's going to replace your go-to sets, at least not in its current form, but it's still worth getting if you play a lot of Dragonknight or Necromancer, because used correctly in the right situations, it's going to be really strong. Here's how to get the most out of it. 1. You want the 5-piece active at all times. That means using jewelry and 2 body pieces. If you actually need light armor for pen or sustain, then you can wear more body pieces. 2. It adds a secondary effect to all your dots, dealing flame damage on every 3rd tick. That's the 3rd tick per dot. There's no cooldown on the set itself, so it keeps getting stronger the more dots you use, and every tick has another chance to apply the burning status effect. 3. Dots that tick every second proc it twice as often. In update 35, most dots were changed to tick every 2 seconds, but ground dots like Stampede, Wall of Elements, and Caltrops still tick every second. Talons, Eruption, and Standard also do. Another reason why this set is so great on DK. Necromancer also has Boneyard and Siphon. 4. It does have disadvantages. It's a light set, it doesn't have Minor Slayer, and it has a line of penetration which will often be useless. Keep this in mind when optimizing your stats. 5. Procs like Pillar of Nirn, Whirl of the Depths, or Merciless Charge do not proc this set, nor do status effects. 6. Recasting a dot early resets the tick count to 0. For example, casting Venomous Claw repeatedly does nothing because it's a new dot every time. You need to wait 6 seconds for 3 ticks before the flame damage actually pops. We don't need to worry too much about this, but if you're really optimizing, it's worth knowing there are some dots you can recast early for more Runecarver procs, but anything that ticks a multiple of 3 times should probably be left alone. Finally, ignore DPS numbers from the PTS. Just ignore them. This set was bugged for the last 2 weeks, and people were hitting 140k DPS with it. That's not possible on live, so don't beat yourself up if you can't replicate it. I was hoping after the nerfs I'd be getting around 125k on the dummy with this. That's still not the highest dummy DPS you can get right now, but because Magicka Dragonknight has so much cleave, and this set buffs almost all of it, a dummy hump with Runecarver's Blaze doesn't come close to showing its true potential. Same goes for Necromancer. More details may emerge as people get their hands on this set and test it out, but for now, I'd say for single target fights, you're better off using whatever set you used last patch. For boss fights with adds, it's not necessarily worth it either. You'll sacrifice quite a bit of boss damage, even if your overall damage jumps up because all your AoEs are popping flame damage on every add that walks into them. That trade-off might be worth it sometimes, but I think where this set is really gonna shine is in fights with multiple bosses that need to be damaged simultaneously. That way you're not lowering your damage on the primary target, you're increasing it on all priority targets. Examples of this include nuking the triplets in Hoth, Novintas hard mode if you're upstairs, Asylum if you're not skipping the minis, Cloud Rest if the minis are stacked on the boss, Valgraven hard mode. There are actually quite a few places where this could work really well. If you want a setup and rotation which fit all the criteria we just went through, I put one together which works on the dummy. Just keep in mind that the DPS numbers aren't that great against a single target like this. I was hitting almost 140k on PTS with a similar setup and rotation, so it feels pretty sad to get knocked back to 119. But whatever, like I said, when single target damage is what matters, we won't be using this set anyway. I used Reliquin here because it just works in most fights, especially with Thaumaturge slotted. But if you're really going for AoE, then Yandir or Riptide should be better. Maybe even Sul'Zan if ads are dying around you regularly. Runecarver goes on the jewelry and 2 body pieces, so it's always active even when we bar swap. We need the legs free for the kilt and either the head or shoulders for slime crawl. Go for sash and gloves if you want to keep your armor stat as high as possible. Daggers offer the best passives of any weapon type. On the back bar we ideally want another ground dot that ticks every second, and that means Stampede, Endless Hail or Blockade. I went with the Maelstrom Inferno because it was the easiest to sustain. If your group is running in Kratis, then that's the way to go anyway. I tried using Crunchy Spider Skewer with Stampede and Carve, but Magicka Sustain just wasn't working, even with a double charged front bar. I did go with Noxious Breath instead of Engulfing Flames, again for sustain reasons, but this shouldn't be necessary with good supports and with Pillager's Profit. If you're the only Dragonknight in the group, make sure you use Engulfing Flames for the unique debuff. If not, then use whatever works best. You can even swap one of these dots for Deadly Cloak if you want some extra mitigation. It's a 16-second rotation with Talons every 4 seconds. That's a close enough fit with Blockade and Flames of Oblivion, and it gives us a nice, easy rhythm to stick to. Pre-buff with 3 Flames of Oblivion and Barbed Trap, then start. Talons, 2, 3, 4. Talons, 2, 3, 4, and so on. You can drop your standard immediately, or once all your dots are up. It depends on the length of the fight. Since I know I'll be able to cast a third one, I drop it pretty much straight away, but you can also wait until all your dots are rolling for maximum impact. Don't panic if some of your dots are down for a second or two. Talons are generally the priority because they're so strong. You can easily get 90k single target damage from a single cast, and all that damage is crammed into 4 seconds and applied to everything in a 6 meter radius. It's one of the big reasons DK performs so well and why I prioritize them in my rotation. I'm using Ghastly Eyeball and Spell Power potions. Heroism potions would obviously add quite a bit of damage, but I'm assuming most people watching this won't be using those in content, so I didn't either. We're rocking 8 dots here which will all proc Runecarver's Blaze, not counting the standard. And half of those tick every second, so even though we're doing quite a lot of whipping, the set is constantly firing in the background almost twice every second. And 6 of those dots are AoEs. So all the damage and Runecarver ticks that come from them will multiply for every ad that walks into them. Nothing here is absolute. I don't want to tell anyone how to play, and you can tweak this setup in all kinds of ways or run something entirely different. I always test a bunch of different setups and rotations for each class before picking what I think is the easiest to replicate, isn't dependent on elaborate pre-buffs, and that works in content with minimal tweaks. This is no different. I want to say thank you for all the great feedback on the DPS videos I've been putting out recently. Sounds like they're helping some of you, which is great, and I plan to do a lot more now that the new patch has finally arrived. If you have any questions, you can join the Ninja Pulls Discord and post them, or just use the comment section. Another nice thing about this setup is that we don't have to worry about execute. While other DDs are trying to figure out whether to cast Wrecking Blow or Executioner, we can just keep doing our thing. Try to set it up so that Blockade and Trap will run right until the end, ideally all of your other dots as well. But once the target has about 10 seconds left, you can start to let them expire and just do Talons and Whips until it dies. You can see that Runecarver's Blaze still deals a lot of damage, even after they nerfed it. A lot of burning procs also come from this set. You do have to build around it to really exploit the 5-piece, and the 1 to 4-piece stats aren't that great, but it's a cool new set, and I hope this video will help you guys see through all the hype, know when to use it, when not to use it, and how to make the most of it on your mag DKs and score some massive damage numbers. Go get 'em!